Welcome to This Explainer. So today we're going to enthusiastically deconstruct something that pretty much all of us grew up watching, yet we almost never stop to actually dissect it. We're talking about how animated stories are made. We're going to peel back the layers of this fascinating art form and really look at the hidden gears turning behind the scenes.
It all really starts with one incredibly profound question. Think about this for a second. How exactly do you take a completely artificial, lifeless pencil sketch, or just a clump of digital pixels, and make an audience actually feel something for it? Like, how do you take something totally static and make it feel completely undeniably real? Well, the answer is literally baked right into the word itself. The term animation stems from the Latin animatio, which translates to a bestowing of life. And actually, bestowing that life isn't just about making a drawing move from point A to point B. It's way more complex than that. It requires stacking multiple disciplines, things like art, physics, storytelling, and cinematography, all together, almost like a perfectly structured, heavily layered cake. To really understand how this works, we're going to build the process layer by layer today. We'll start with the illusion of life, move into planning the narrative, explore the physics of movement, look at directing the virtual camera, and wrap it all up with breathing life into art. Section 1. The illusion of life. To truly appreciate modern animation, we really have to look back. Because humanity's desire to capture motion, it spans thousands of years. We're talking all the way back to the Paleolithic era, during the Old Stone Age, running through 180 CE with the earliest known zoetrope in China, right up to those crazy 19th century mechanical innovations, like the phenakiscope in 1841 and the praxinoscope in 1877. It's literally an ancient obsession. Think about the sheer ingenuity of Paleolithic cave paintings for a moment. You have these animals drawn with multiple legs in superimposed positions. I mean, even back in the Stone Age, humans were trying to solve the problem of a static image by tricking the viewer's eye into perceiving rapid movement. It's just wild to think about. And this ancient obsession eventually led to a massive mechanical leap, the zoetrope. By placing slightly different sequential images inside a cylinder and spinning it, you can look through the slits, and your brain just automatically blends those separate images into one fluid motion. This physical mechanism laid the absolute foundation for modern animation. But of course, creating the illusion of motion is really only the first step.
Section 2. Planning the narrative. You know, a highly structured production pipeline is the only thing that keeps a massive creative project from devolving into total chaos. It flows sequentially, right? You gather the information and purpose, write the script, record the voiceover, draw the storyboard, and finally define that visual style. This strict workflow ensures everyone is on exactly the same page from the initial spark of an idea to the final product.
So the absolutely crucial point here is step 4, the storyboard, and the resulting animatics. If you don't know, animatics are rough sequences of still storyboard images synced up with scratch audio. And why do they do this? Well, in traditional 2D animation, just a few minutes of screen time can equal months of grueling labor. Animators simply can't afford to beautifully paint a scene, only to have the director cut it later. Animatics allow them to edit the story long before the expensive, time-consuming animating even begins. Let's look at a quick micro case study from a children's story called The Greedy Monkey. The story follows Momo. He's a monkey who finds a massive banana tree, completely refuses to share, loses everything because his load is just way too heavy, and eventually learns that sharing actually brings happiness. Now, before an animator even worries about how the jungle leaves blow in the wind, they use the storyboard to lock in these core emotional beats. Because honestly, without the emotional foundation of Momo's greed and redemption, all those beautiful drawings just wouldn't matter at all.
Section 3. The physics of movements. Okay, so once we have our emotional story nailed down, we have to add real-world mechanics and weight to our characters. Have you ever watched an animated movie, looked off into the background, and seen a bird that just looks wrong? Veteran animator Aaron Blaise points this out as his ultimate pet peeve. When animators just draw a bird moving its wings straight up and straight down, it looks like it's lifelessly floating. It completely shatters the viewer's immersion because, well, it entirely ignores basic physics. To fix this, you have to look at the biological reality of how a bird actually flies. Blaise explains that a bird's wing is built a whole lot like a human arm, complete with an elbow and a wrist. On the downstroke, the feathers overlap and press tightly together, forming this solid paddle that scoops the air for powerful thrust. But on the upstroke, the bird bends its elbow and wrist, and the feathers actually separate. This lets the air flow straight through with zero resistance. It's this beautiful, complex, mechanical cycle of capturing and releasing air. If you truly understand those mechanics, the aerodynamics, and the weight, and apply them to your animation, your artificial creation suddenly feels incredibly believable. As Blaze perfectly puts it, life is in the details. Be a student of the world. You have to actually study how real trees bend in a storm, or how a cat shifts its weight when it's prowling, to make the magic work on screen. Section 4. Directing the virtual camera. Applying these real-world rules becomes even more crucial when we step into a purely digital space. In modern 3D animation software, there's no gravity. There are no heavy camera rigs or physical metal tracks. And this lack of restriction leads to what experts call the 3D camera trap. Because a beginner can fly a digital camera through a tiny keyhole and swoop around a room at 100 miles an hour, they often do. But this ungrounded, extravagant movement feels incredibly fake to us because our brains are used to the natural physics of a real, heavy camera moving on a physical boom. So to combat this trap, the pros ground their digital cameras in reality by simulating real-world lenses. Bloob Animation has a really practical cheat sheet for this. You'd use a 15 to 18 millimeter focal length for establishing deep, wide landscapes. Then you jump to a 35 to 55 millimeter lens for close-ups so you aren't weirdly distorting the character's face. And you'd use an 80 to 200 millimeter lens to flatten the perspective during fast, quick action shots. Applying real-world cinematic constraints inside a limitless virtual world is exactly what makes it feel real to the audience.
Section 5. Breathing life into art.
Animation is just so much more than drawing characters. It's the beautiful, harmonious synthesis of completely distinct disciplines. It takes ancient techniques to trick the eye, intense narrative planning to build a solid emotional core, a really deep study of biological physics to give the drawings weight, and strict cinematic rules to make the virtual world feel grounded. It's the whole shebang coming together perfectly. So, the crucial takeaway from this explainer is recognizing the sheer amount of invisible labor happening right in front of your eyes. The next time you sit down to watch an animated film, try to look past the main characters. Pay attention to the camera angles, the pacing, the weight of the objects on screen. Will you ever watch a simple background bird flap its wings the exact same way again? Keep your eyes open and never, ever stop being a student of the world.